Namaskar and good afternoon. A very warm welcome to all attendees who have joined us today for this webinar on the schemes and initiatives of MSMEs by Ministry of MSME. My name is Pranav Rao and I'll be moderating the session. As we all know that micro, small and medium enterprises, that is the MSMEs, which contribute significantly to the value addition, employment generation, exports, and overall growth and development of our Indian economy. India SME Forum, along with the support of Ministry of MSME, Government of India, is organizing Odisha State MSME Virtual Expo 2022, which will give MSMEs from Odisha an opportunity to connect and interact with MSMEs from all over India and abroad, buyers, brands, and retailers. The exhibition is being conducted virtually to enable B2B and B2C business contacts for MSME. Today, we have our third webinar of Odisha State Webinar MSME Expo webinar series, along with an valedictory session of this entire expo, as today is the last day of the Odisha State MSME Expo 2022. I request every one of you to visit the expo on www.indiasmeforum.org/Odisha. Now, coming to the webinar, today we have a very special guest among us. Her name is Ms. Nitisha Mann. She is an IES officer, that is Indian Economic Services from 2016 batch, with All India Rank 1. Presently, she is posted as a Deputy Director of MSME DI Cuttack. She has completed her MA and MPhil from Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi, and honors in economics from University of Delhi. Prior to this, she was an assistant professor in Kalindi College, Delhi University. Welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So today, MSME sector, which is also the second largest employment generator in the country after agriculture, needs special attention from government. In Odisha itself, MSME units are generating maximum employment next to agriculture. Government is also supporting MSMEs through various schemes and initiatives in Odisha. So, ma'am, can I please request you to please make up all understand what are the roles of MSMEs in sustaining economic development of India through your presentation? And over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Pranav. Thank you to the organizers, Government of Odisha and India SME Forum for hosting this wonderful event, which we all know, in the wake of COVID pandemic, becomes even more important to have such more virtual interactions with the people, what with the constraints being imposed on the physical meeting or on the social, social aspects. So that ways, I'm really thankful for this opportunity and thanks to you for considering me apt to come here and talk to all of you and our audience here about the importance of MSMEs, their role in the economy today, and what is the kind of support that the government is providing with a view to bringing them to the forefront of our economy. So, if you'll permit me, then we can maybe share the presentation. If we could come to the first slide, please. Thank you so much. So, I decided I would title my PPT as a role of MSMEs in sustainable economic development simply because sustainable development ensures that it is a comprehensive and all encompassing and an inclusive growth, which includes all the different sectors of our economy. Now, going back to the genesis and the evolution of the MSMEs, so basically, what erstwhile we used to have was the small scale industry or the small scale industry sector, which the government since beginning realized that India being such a diverse country and a majority of the population living in urban areas, we had a lot of small cottage industries or family units that were present. So since the initial 5-year plans only, there was a separate definition and there were certain measures which were always announced for the promotion of this sector in our economy. And of course, we are also a gradually evolving economy. So, with the wave and the onslaught of globalization, which we embarked upon post 1991, we realized that we really needed to widen our perception or our horizon of what encompasses the small scale industries. And that was when we came up with the concept of what we call the micro, small, and medium enterprises. So, first of all, we have to understand this distinction between industries and enterprises. That was because whenever we used to think of something like industries, people would automatically have an image in their mind of a big industrial shed with lots of machinery. But that was where the difference lied. In an enterprise concept, an entrepreneur is the primary agent, and he's the person who has an idea, not necessarily big machineries or a big industrial shed, large amount of production happening. All he needed to have was an idea, and then it was around this idea that he developed his enterprise. So an idea could be anything in the field of manufacturing and the services, doing both also simultaneously, but he had to develop that idea around the kind of product that he wanted, the market that he wanted to cater to, and then how to bring together all the resources for the germination of his enterprise. So, now coming to the technical part of what are micro, small, and medium enterprises. So, all the non agricultural, unincorporated enterprises are MSMEs. To simplify it, basically, what you need is for anybody to be called an MSME, they should be registered, right? Like, right now, if I ask somebody, who are you? So you tell me your name or somebody, but what proof do I have? So you need to have like an Aadhaar number or something of that sort, right? To prove that you are so and so. So similarly, the identification for our MSMEs is the Udyam registration number. If you've registered yourself on the Udyam portal, then you get this Udyam registration number and you're called an MSME unit. Now, coming further to how do you distinguish between who are the micro, who are the small, and who are the medium enterprises? Could we move to the next slide, please? So, okay, before I move on to that, I would also like to, share a bit about how important MSME sector is. I've talked about the evolution, but other than that, this concept of MSME Act, MSME came through the MSMED Act, which came in the year 2006, and since then, given the focus that the government has given to this sector and the host of measures and schemes and benefits that are announced for it, the MSME sector has grown incredibly. And right now, if I share with you these statistics, you'll realize why we keep emphasizing the importance of this sector. For our GDP, out of the total GDP of the country, 29% is from the MSME sector. More than 49% of our exports, we have approximately 500 billion USD exports in a year on an average. Out of that, 49% is from MSME sector. Of that, more than 45% of your manufacturing contribution comes from the small scale sector. You have approximately 6 crore MSMEs that are registered in the country and employing close to 12 crore people, which, as you rightly pointed out, makes it the second largest, employing sector in the economy. Majority of our MSMEs are actually micro, and surprisingly, 51% are in the rural areas as vis-a-vis the urban areas. So minor difference only, but still, and that is why the government's focus is so much on this sector, because what we need, as I mentioned, was a balanced and an inclusive development. And if you want an inclusive development, you ought to focus on your rural areas as well. And if the MSME, by virtue of their huge presence in the rural areas, if it can develop, if it can grow, if it can evolve, then we'll be directly and indirectly contributing to the development of the rural sector of our economy. But one slightly saddening factor, which I always point out, is that still 80% of our MSMEs are owned by men, and only 20% are women owned. So that is one area which we need to focus on, and for which we do have special incentives, which I'll talk about in the course of my presentation. So we can move ahead, please. Yes, so MSME, we define something like a micro, small, medium based on something. And what is that basing factor? That base factor is the investment that you do in your plant and machinery, or the annual turnover that you have. Now, since MSMEs, by virtue of the definition, have a lesser investment, therefore, and more employment, therefore, they have. I'm so sorry. Yes, so that is why government promotes it, because we are a capital constrained economy. So if we're able to generate more employment through less capital, naturally, it would lead to a lot of development for the country. Then it promotes self employment, because there is a certain limit to how much the government or the private sector can accommodate. So if we can lead people towards self employment, that will be very good, and contributing again to the growth and development of our economy. Because of the presence in urban areas, we'll be able to correct the regional imbalances that exist. It reduces the burden on agriculture, which is already facing a lot of disguised unemployment. And because of so many other factors, reducing the dependency in imports, catering to local markets, employing the local labor. Because of all these factors, the government realizes the importance of this sector, which I think is wrongly called the micro, small, medium, but it is actually contributing a lot if you look at it in the macro picture also. So please, next slide, please. Yes. So how do you decide which kind of an enterprise you are? So basically, if your investment in plant and machinery, if it is up to 1 crore rupees and your turnover does not exceed 5 crore rupees, then you're a micro enterprise. If your investment increases 1 crore but is less than 10 crores, then you're a small enterprise. And if your investment is more than 10 but less than 50, then you're called a medium enterprise. And this new definition, it is a common definition for both service and manufacturing sector MSMEs. And if you want to register yourself, that can be done through the Udyam registration portal. So next, please. Now, this is a very, very easy and seamless process for registering yourself. Um, how do you do it? 1 decade ago, 2 decades ago, basically, if you wanted to register, then you would have to go from pillar to post, running, getting so many clearances and all. But now, this portal, which was launched, you only need some very basic documentation. So all you need is actually your Aadhaar card, your PAN card, and if your turnover is more than 40, then you need a GSTN, GST number. Sitting there, go to this portal, no fees is required, upload those documents, fill in all the details. It will automatically verify, because there is a linkage with the income tax department also. Automatically the category will be assigned to you and the certificate will be registered. And it has a QR code also, so you can scan that and all the details will be there. And it's a common registration form, no fees. So an ease of doing business. This is like ranked very, very highly in terms of registering, in order to just promote people to come forward and be less and face less and less of burdens in terms of starting their own business. So next slide, please. So this is what your Udyam registration certificate looks like once it's generated. Again, please don't go to any don't go for any paid service to get this done, because this is absolutely free of cost. And if you're finding any difficulty, you can always come to us, the MSME DI field offices, or you can go to your DICs and they'll happily assist you in doing that. Next, please. So how does the Ministry of MSME function? So basically, Ministry of MSME has the Office of Development Commissioner, which have their field presence through the MSME Development Institutes. I am based out of MSME DI Cuttack, for instance. The bigger states have branch institutes also. We have in Odisha, for example, branch institutes in Rourkela and Raigada. Then we have testing centers and testing stations to provide different kind of testing facilities to our MSMEs. And then there are autonomous bodies which are there, like tool rooms and training centers, who do precision works, who do job works, and also provide really skilled, highly skilled training to the labor. Next slide, please. These are some of our other sister concerns, the other organizations of MSME who are catering to particular sectors. For example, Khadi and Village Industries. So they look after the Khadi sector. And then Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Rural Industrialization in Wardha, which is promoting rural industrialization. Then we have a training institute by the name of MSME in Hyderabad. Then coir, you understand, coir is again another important sector, because coconut has a lot of byproducts, so a lot of people are employed there. And I'm so sorry, I just give me 1 second, please. Pranav, are you still there?
Yes.
Just give me 1 second, please. It seems
Sure.
urgent. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much. No, that is the problem with doing it in office hours. You keep getting so many calls also simultaneously,
No,
and the
no problem, no problem.
session,
Absolutely.
parliament session is also going on. So there's always some exigency in terms of some reports or something that have to be sent. So anyway, moving forward, so so choir is one another very important sector in which a lot of people are involved, and they're all dispersed. So they're not under one formal ambit, which makes them miss out on the kind of assistance that can be provided. So we have the choir board for that, and it looks after the formalization and the assistance, workshop program, training programs, and these are toolkits which are distributed, a lot of schemes and activities that they are undertaking for the development of choir sector. Then we have NSIC, which is a National Small Industries Corporation, and it is basically, it acts like a raw material depot, and also is of one of the nodal agencies for a lot of our schemes also. So that is put it. I've already talked about who is an entrepreneur, so maybe we can skip it. So this is one important thing that all the people need to look at. I know it's really silly to put these down as points about what are the characteristics and skills, but that is to just show people that nowhere in this slide we have something called a formal degree. Because you really don't require a degree to be an entrepreneur. Anybody with any idea can be an entrepreneur. You just need some basic qualities. And for me, I think the most important is to have a vision and to have perseverance. And next comes communication skill. If you have, I think, these 3 4 qualities, and then if you can just pick on the other ones, and then you can really really run a very successful enterprise, and then sky is the limit. You can grow as much as you want to, and we want to promote it, because once you're an entrepreneur, you're not just doing things for yourself, you're also doing it for the society by way of provisioning of a better good, better service, bringing a new product, buying raw materials locally, employing people locally, or making people aware of a new product that they were not aware of, contributing to the economy. So many things that as an entrepreneur you do, which you may not get the opportunity to do if you're into something else. So this is another aspect. It's not just the profit motive that hits you when you decide to go for entrepreneurship. It is also your contribution or not. There's a social return over and above the private return when you go for something like an entrepreneurship. Thank you. So next slide, please. So this again I've talked about a bit of, like, how for an entrepreneur the most important is the discovery of an idea about what is it that they want to do. Then you develop a concept in the sense of whether it will be a product, it will be a service, it will be a mix of the two things, and how you're going to develop it. Then finding all the important resources for it, then giving shape to it, actualizing it, and then finally running it so that you can harvest what you've actually sown. So that is the entrepreneurship journey really broken down into an extremely rudimentary stage for all of you. Now, the another very important thing which you all should be aware of is that the one important question which we pose to so many of our trainees also is that why do you not want to take up entrepreneurship? Everybody wants to. Everybody has ideas. Even a housewife who probably doesn't step out that much, doesn't have a lot of knowledge, or somebody who's in an extremely rural area with no linkage, even they would have some idea about what they want to do. However, the most important thing that we ask them why they don't do it. So one is like, where is the market? If I want to do something of my own, if I don't have an idea, kuch purana bhi karna hai, where is the market? So that is where. Can we go to the previous slide, please? I've not yet covered it. Yes, so for them, they need to know something about the public procurement policy. So public procurement policy was actually launched in 2012, and under this, you have to know that government in its daily functioning also needs to buy a lot of goods and services. So similarly, just like other offices, we are working, we need things in a daily life. A school which is functioning would need things in daily life, so government also needs to buy a lot of things. And since that amount of the buying that they do is out of public resources, it is called the public procurement. And in order to ensure that this huge market, it is put down at 10 to 20% of our total GDP, that is the amount or the quantum of public procurement that is done. So in order to ensure that everybody has some share in that market, and especially to focus on our micro and small sector enterprises, um, this public procurement policy mandates that every year, every central government ministry, department, or any public sector enterprise, all under the central government, that is Government of India, have to necessarily purchase 25% of their total procurement from micro and small enterprises only. So you can understand how big of a market has been given to them. So if on an average my ministry has to do procurement worth 10 crores in a year, so out of that, 2.5 crores would be earmarked for only micro and small enterprises. Necessarily, they have to do it. So, again, a huge market has already been created. And then further to assist the women and SC/ST entrepreneurs, which we saw from the numbers, don't have an equal representation in our MSME sector. There is a further sub-target. So out of this 25%, 4% is earmarked for SC/ST entrepreneurs and 3% is marked from women entrepreneurs. So 4%, 3% out of 25%. So you can imagine what big market is being given. So, and all this is done with the view of ensuring that our MCs, particularly those owned by women and SC/ST, do have a better access to the government market, and they're able to market their products and services also. Other than that, there are 358 items which have been exclusively reserved to be purchased from micro and small enterprises. So other than your 25%, these items, if you have to procure in your with the government of India, that is, you have to do it you have to purchase it from MSCs. Now, other than that, another important area where they need help is tenders. So government comes out with a lot of tenders, for buying of goods, provisioning of services, they do that. Now, when you want to participate in a tender, there are certain costs that are there. You have to file it. So there are tender papers. Then they have to submit a certain percentage of the total tender value in the form of earnest money deposit. All this reduces the working capital which is available with the entrepreneurs. And the micro and small ones, they're not able to do that because they work with very limited working capital. So in order to ensure that there is no hindrance in their participation, the government has made tender sets completely free from micro and small enterprises, and also they don't have to pay any earnest money, but they need to ensure that they are registered, that is, they have done their Udyam registration in order to get these benefits. Other than that, there is another benefit also. So for example, you bid in the tender and you're not the lowest quoting person. L1 is the lowest quote, so whoever gives that lowest quote, the tender goes to that person. However, if within the range of L1 plus 15%, so let's say L1 is 100 rupees, so between 100 and 115 rupees, if there is a person who is a micro or a small enterprise, if he has bid, then he will be given the option to supply 25% of the total tender value if he can reduce his price till L1. So again, huge benefit. And all this has really helped provide a big market to our MSCs. And how it is being done. So what we do is we talk about all these things and people say, "Acha, aap bol rahe ho, but hota kaise hai?" So, just like in today's time, whenever we have to buy something, we usually go to some e-commerce platform, Amazon, Flipkart, so on and so forth. Similarly, we have something called the government e-marketplace. Next slide, please. Yes, so the government e-marketplace, that is the GEM portal. So that is like, the analogous of Amazon or Flipkart for government. So it also has this vendor registration. If you're interested in, supplying to the government, you can go and get yourself registered as a vendor there. And anybody wants to buy, they can go and place their order. If you are a particular supplier of that product, you will get notification, then you can bid for it. There is a catalog management system also. And then particularly for products of women entrepreneurs, of SHGs and startups, there are other tabs also in which new kind of products can also be displayed. So using this, it has become really seamless and easy for government departments also to purchase, to meet their targets, and for the vendors and our MSC suppliers also to more efficiently participate in this whole the government procurement market that exists. Next, please. So this is just a snapshot of how this whole GEM ecosystem functions. So many lines and arrows are there, but it is actually very simple. If you read it, you'll realize. So functions like any other, facilitating platform between buyers and sellers. Next, please. Yes. So I was talking before this about, what stops or hinders people from becoming entrepreneurs, what stops them. In that respect, other than the existence of market, they frequently say that the lack of financial resources. So obviously that again ranks very highly in terms of one of the deterrents for why people don't want to go for entrepreneurship. And the government realizes that, which is why number of schemes and measures have been announced from time to time and will continue to be by the government and our central bank. So we have something called SIDBI, which is the Small Industries Development Bank of India, established way back in 1990, only for the purpose of promoting our MSME sectors. Then there's something called priority sector lending. So under priority sector lending, what happens is that any bank branch, it is supposed to lend 40% of the total annual credit to certain priority sectors, and MSME sector is also one of them. Then other than that, if you want loan up to 10 lakh, then you don't have to give anything as collateral. Collateral nahi hota logon ke paas, which really stops them from getting access to credit. So that has been done away by the government. So so many other things the government is constantly announcing to ensure that all the different aspects or areas where they face problems are taken care of. Next slide, please. So this, other than those measures which are announced, they are the general ones. There are certain specific schemes also, which are there for helping, for the purpose of helping our MSME entrepreneurs. So first is the Mudra scheme, which was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister. And under this, as I've mentioned, up to 10 lakh, there are three categories of loans. There is Shishu, Tarun and Kishore, up to 50,000, 50,000 to 5 lakh, and 5 to 10 lakh. Again, very easy, just your documentation, a good project profile is required, and no collateral is required, and then you can get loan under this scheme. Next is the flagship Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program. Now, this is a scheme by our ministry, and the nodal agency is the Khadi and Village Industries Commission. Under this, loans up to 10 lakh for service sector and 25 lakhs for manufacturing sector are given. And what is the good part? That your own contribution is actually only 10%. Okay, can we move to the next slide, please? I'll just talk a bit more about it. Next, please. Yes. So what happens is that आपका कोई project है which costs 25 lakh rupees manufacturing area के अंदर. So if your loan is approved under this scheme, you have a good project profile, then your own contribution will only be 2.5 lakh. That is 10%, and rest you will get in the form of a loan from the bank. You have to excuse the noise in the background because the elections are ongoing, so there's this canvassing that's happening all the time. Sorry for that. Anyway, so your own contribution will only be 2.5 lakh, and 22.5 lakh would be given by the bank in the form of a loan to you. Other than that, if you're routinely paying your EMIs and there is no default on your part, then you get some money as a subsidy back. That ranges from 15 to 35% depending on which area you're from. So it is higher for rural areas and aspirational districts or northeast region, and again it is higher for women and SC/ST entrepreneurs also. So you can understand that just with a good idea and 2.5 lakh of your own capital, you're getting that much of amount to establish your enterprise. So again, another very good scheme by the government, and which has seen a very good success ratio, many success stories also. And if you do well in the first installment, uh, uh, under this scheme or under Mudra, then you're even eligible to go for the upgradation loan, under which you can get an amount of up to 1 crore for manufacturing and 25 lakh for service sector. So, this is one scheme that we really like to talk about and almost flaunt for the kind of benefits that it gives to the people and the success stories that it has contributed to. Now, after this, we have something called the Credit Guarantee Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises, one of the bigger schemes. Under that, up to 2 crore, you can get a collateral-free credit. So anybody who's already doing business or who knows somebody who's doing can understand the importance of getting a 2 crore loan without any collateral. And so a very good scheme again, and in that there are categories of how much would be the security, and how much or how much of the credit guarantee would be given by the trust, and so on and so forth. And then these are Stand Up India is another scheme under which banks have to lend to at least one woman and one SC/ST entrepreneur from 10 lakh to 1 crore. So I think the finance part is well taken care of, and you can understand. So we have various brackets for very small micro enterprises. We have Mudra loans, slightly bigger. We have PMEGT. For the even bigger ones, we have CGT MSC. And other than that, our banks also keep announcing, their own schemes and their own programs which are meant for enterprises or for the MSME sector, because they understand, it's a lucrative sector even from the point of view of business. But all you need to have is a good idea, a viable project. Next, please. Yes, so interest subvention is another way in which the government provides you help. So for instance, if your interest rate of interest on your loan is 10%, then they'll give you an intervention of up to 2%. So effectively you'll only be paying 8%. So this scheme is not funding, but it is announced from time to time. Next, please. So other than the existence of the market and the availability of credit, there are other areas also where our MSMEs face problems. Basically, in the marketing sector, in the international sector, for the exports, in the skill development, for the purpose of common facilities, and so on and so forth. However, the government is very responsive that way, and to try and cater to the issues in all different aspects, we have a diverse theme of schemes also to try and lessen their difficulties and to remove these obstacles. So we'll go over them quickly one by one. So can we move to the next slide, please? So under procurement and marketing scheme, what happens is, just to give you a gist. So there are trade fairs which happen routinely. For example, in Delhi there is the IIT of the Trade Expo. Then there are many such trade fairs which are routinely organized by different state governments, by the government of India. And if you want to participate in any trade fair, then you have to pay certain fees. Then you have to take your goods also there. There are traveling charges also. So in order to help and aid our MSCs in participating, so that they can get that marketing benefit, a government under this scheme reimburses the amount or the fees that they pay for taking a stall at these trade fairs. Next slide, please. Okay. So under that, there are categories of cities: tier A, tier B, tier C. Under tier A city, if you're participating in a trade fair, and if you're a woman or an SC/ST or an ex-serviceman NER from the aspirational districts, and if you participate, you don't have to pay any rent. And if you're from the general category, you have to pay 80% of the amount is reimbursed. You're paying only 20%. Then freight charges आपको मिलता है, एंड आपको ट्रैवलिंग का भी चार्जेस मिलता है फॉर 25,000 फॉर ट्रैवलिंग टू दीज फेयर्स. Then under our P&MS scheme also, we encourage people to go for consultancies on packaging, because that is where our MSMEs really lack. They don't understand the importance of attractive packaging. So if you go to any of the empaneled agencies, for instance National Institute of Design or Indian Institute of Packaging, and आप consultancy लेते हो, so you have to pay the fees. But to encourage you to go for something like that, under P&MS scheme we reimburse that fees amount also. Then if you want to develop marketing hearts, or if you want to upgrade them, then under the PNMS scheme, that is also provided to you. So a lot of things are taken care of to that scheme. And on the similar scheme is simultaneous to that, we have this international cooperation scheme. So our P&MS scheme was geared towards trade fairs and events occurring within our domestic territory. However, under the international cooperation scheme, if you have to participate in international trade fairs, for instance, Dubai Expo will happen, or there are other trade fairs that happen. If you want to participate, again you have to pay fare. You have to pay rent for that. You have to travel freight charges. So under this IC scheme, if you're with a registered organization and at least 10 of your people are interested in the approach, there is an online also portal through which you can go for it, or you can approach via the DIs. Then up to 3 lakh rupees to each MSME unit is given for the stall charges. We give 50,000 for freight, and it is 75,000 if you have to participate in the Latin American countries. And then if you go there and you have to advertise, for those who big hoardings and billboards are there, come to this stall, come visit this pavilion. So 2.5 lakh is given if you're up to 14, and 5 lakhs if you're more than 15, MSME units. So again, the scheme was revised recently, and we're really hoping it will actually help our MSMEs get that much needed exposure in the international markets also. And there are other new elements which are being going to be introduced under the IC scheme in terms of building the capacity for new exporters, because at times the processes get really difficult for people to comprehend. So to help them with that and reduce the fees for quality testing and certification, etc., these elements have been introduced. Next slide, please. So skilling is another important thing. Skilled labor लोगों को आराम से मिलता नहीं. If you have a business, you have an enterprise, but you don't have skilled labor. So for that, we do something. We have something called the upscaled entrepreneurship and skill development programs. Different kind of programs with different tenures. There are one-day awareness programs or motivational campaigns. Then there are one-week marketing development programs which focus on particular schemes. Then we have the longer 6 weeks entrepreneurship and skill development programs, 42 days, in which we do skilling also. And in all of these, we tell people in detail about the kind of schemes that are there, the benefits that they can avail, how to set up their enterprises, where they will get raw material from, and if they want, we help them prepare their project profiles also. And here, no fees is actually charged if you're a woman or you're an SCST entrepreneur, potential entrepreneur, and you can just be a part of it. So, next slide, please. So skilling taken care of, marketing taken care of, credit taken care of, existence of market taken care of. Next is for the slightly technical MSCs, they routinely face problems of lack of common facilities or infrastructure. So to help them with it, we have something called the cluster development program, under which there are different components based on the kind of requirements. So for instance, a cluster of similar industries may be needing some sort of a testing facility or a processing center, or they may need an effluent treatment plant, a design center, raw material bank. Under this 20 crore taka project is approved by the government, in which they contribute 70%. And if you are cluster which is based in the northeast areas, in the aspirational districts, LWE areas, or if more than 50% of your units are micro, or they are women owned or SCST, then 90% is the government's contribution, to encourage them. Under infrastructure development, similarly, if you have to go for solar energy panels लगवाना है किसी एरिया का, आपको roads build कराना है किसी industrial shed में, या किसी इंडस्ट्रियल एस्टेट में, और भी किसी तरह का ड्रेनेज, पावर डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, एनीथिंग लाइक दैट which contributes to betterment of infrastructure, then up to 10 crore of projects are approved by the government. Again, the government of India's contribution is limited to 70%, and rest comes from the members or from the state government also. Next slide, please. Under this also, if you have to go for marketing hubs and exhibition centers, then you get funding assistance for projects up to 10 crore. And then we routinely do thematic interventions which involve exposure visits, telling people about the new technology that has come out, how they can better utilize their machinery, reduce wastage, and so on. Next, please. Spurti is a similar scheme, but it is more geared towards the traditional and the village industry. So if there are artisanal clusters, if there are up to 500 artisans, then up to 2.5 crore is provided, and for more than 500 artisans, we provide up to 5 crore, and that is provided in the form of either hard interventions like creation of display center, raw material bank, again common facility center, warehousing, or in terms of developing the skills, which are the soft interventions, or any particular theme-based intervention. Next, please. So incubation is another important thing that students ought to know about. So at times what happens, you have an idea, but you don't know how to ideate or to develop the product around it. So for that, we have incubation schemes, which is usually with engineering colleges, R&D institutes, and so on. So if they are chosen as host institute, they get assistance up to 1 crore for establishing the incubation center. And then if they put forward ideas, there are students working with you, outsiders can also come. If their ideas are interesting, they're approved just at the stage of idea only, they get 15 lakh rupees. And if you're able to develop a product out of it with the help of your incubation center, then up to 1 crore of assistance is provided for them to develop a complete enterprise out of it, of to help them expand their business, setting up their business, and getting them proper linkages, funding, all of that is taken care of. So again, another very important scheme for promoting innovation. We want to just help people realize that MSME is not necessarily traditional or archaic. It can be as technical, as advanced as you want it to be. You just have to tell us your requirement, and we will definitely have a scheme to help you with it. Next slide, please. Aspire is also an incubator scheme in which there are two components: technical business incubator and livelihoods business incubator. Under LBIs, we do training so that people's job prospects are improved, and under TBIs again, plant and machinery is there so that it helps in the development of the incubation center and improvement in their facilities. Next, please. IPR is one aspect, again, people don't know a lot about. So they may have a new idea, innovation, and they don't know how to patent that idea, how to capitalize on it. So we guide people on how to do that. how to get a domestic or a foreign patent. And since there are certain costs which are involved in getting these, we also help encourage them by way of reimbursing the fees that they pay for it. Next, please. Zero defect, zero effect is a scheme which has been recently revised by the government, and the main aim is that we have come up with certain quality standards and certain levels. If you meet those levels, you will get a particular rating. So you have silver, gold, platinum. ऐसे करके there are ratings that are there, and if you meet particular tier or particular rating, then it is synonymous to saying that you have a certain particular level of quality or certification, and that really increases your brand value. Of course, there are certain testings and certifications that you have to get done for it, but to encourage you to go for that, we also provide the reimbursement and various other incentives along with it in the scheme. Next, please. So I think we can let go of it, Pranav. And I was thinking I've talked a lot, and maybe we can just leave some time for questions if there are, because I'm sure I've talked a lot and maybe probably confused people also, since there are so many. So maybe we could have some more direct or focused questions.
So
So
can I
that's it.
just remove this presentation? Is it okay if I remove this presentation from the
Yes,
screen?
yes, please do, please do.
So yes, ma'am, we have two questions right now.
Okay,
One question here, what I received is from one of the members right now is her name is Miss Leena Kushwaha. She is the managing partner of Apna Bhumi E-Waste Management Services. So she says that currently we are operating from Andhra Pradesh with an
okay.
established e-waste recycling plant which is around 1 crore rupees under Stand Up India initiative.
So this
Our
1 crore rupees is the investment.
investment. So that is what she is saying under Stand Up India initiative. Our
Okay,
services are already catered in Odisha state, but now we want to start another plant in Odisha.
okay.
So how and whom to approach for industrial land in Bhubaneswar,
Right.
and if I want loan and expand our services, whom to go to? So request your help. Thank you.
Yes, right. Okay, so since they need land, so first of all, they need to contact DIC. DIC will guide them as to where is the land availability, and if there is any particular industrial estate which is focused towards such an activity. If not, they'll tell them about the availability of land wherever it is. And of course, the process for getting the land has to be done through ITCO. ITCO is going to be the authority for that. But yes, for the consultation and the guidance part, they should necessarily approach the IC, because at times you may fix and decide that I want land here, and land may not be available there, because coastal areas as it is are quite saturated in terms of the industrial land availability. So they can definitely guide them as to where are the alternatives they can go and set up with not much change in terms of their cost and the market. So the first step has to be approaching the DIC, and then the part of getting land that has to be done through ITCO. And in terms of expansion, they have to first identify like how is that expansion going to happen in terms of the production or in terms of increase of the market, what markets they're reaching out, or it has to be now domestic vis-a-vis international. So first they identify where that expansion is going to happen, and then they will need to figure out, or we can guide them as to who would be the appropriate person to approach.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. One more question. The second question what I have today is there are a lot of entrepreneurs where they ask, if they want to set up labs in Odisha or they want any kind of technical assistance in terms of processes or in terms of, to buy machine equipment. So what kind of support does the government of Odisha or will provide them for the same? Like whom to approach to, how will they get support from if they want all this?
Right, right. So, maybe I should have included that. So, once it comes to the state part, so DIC is the authority that they need to approach about any kind of help that they need. Secondly, if they want to ask about the source of raw material, then as I mentioned, NSIC, the National Small Industries Corporation, they have an office in Bhubaneswar also. That is actually works like a raw material depot also. So they can approach them to find out where can they procure the raw materials from. And what was the last thing that they asked?
uh, uh, in terms of technical assistance when it comes to processes and machine
So
equipment.
I can always go to the incubation centers. The list can be found from the website. So, here I would like to, in fact, give an illustration. So, we have these brass and bell metal cluster in Nayagarh. So they do this beautiful work, but the problem was that the metal was getting blackened with time. So we have one of the labs at IMMT, which is the Indian Institute for Meteorology. IMMT Bhubaneswar is a CSIR lab. It's a CSIR lab, CSIR IMMT. So they approached them, and the people at CSIR and IMMT helped them. They told them how to change the placement of their meenakari work so that the longevity of the metal was also increased and the shine was also maintained. So, that kind of assistance is always provided by the incubation centers or the various labs that are
Okay. Ma'am, final question I want to ask you once here, because this question, like as this is the third webinar what we are doing right now. We received a lot of questions in the first webinar itself. Like when we have our stalls in the expo and we have our entrepreneurs here. So many of them are into handlooms and block paintings and sambalpuri saris, or
right.
the brass dokra work or silver filigree. So now they say that जैसे Jaipur, when we talk about Rajasthan, the handicrafts of Rajasthan or Kerala, uh, जिस तरह से ये states अपने handloom और the handicraft industry को promote कर रहा है, somewhere Odisha is not coming into the mainstream. So how to like what kind of help the government will help us? Like we have such beautiful artifacts, handicrafts emerging out of Odisha. So how we can do this, because we don't have that much of money when it comes to marketing. So how will government will support us in this?
But I did mention like at least three schemes for marketing. That is why I did that. So first on the GEM portal, they can always go, and if the products of SHGs, the products of women, women entrepreneurs, they have those tabs there. They can always go and put like these are the special products, handicrafts, and all that. That is one platform where they can get some exposure. Secondly, all these trade fairs that take place. So like now of course there's a constraint because of COVID, and not many fairs are there. But then these virtual events are always happening. Last year we had a big toy fair which went on for like almost a week by the government of India. So there people had an opportunity and they could have showcased the product. So such events are always routinely happening, and they need to really grab onto such opportunities and be a part of them, apply, so that we can help them with the stall charges and so on to the extent that we can. And then for me, international exposure, definitely that is, I think, one of the good things. If you're associated with associations and you come together as a group and you want to participate, because if it's just one stall in an international trade fair, nobody's going to pay attention. But if you're like 10 stalls together, obviously it's going to get a lot of limelight. So that is so the schemes are there. You need to be proactive to know what schemes are there and how to apply for it, how to approach them. Also, one thing I really feel is lacking is there really need to be an awareness in terms of how to better use social media. So, these products that you're saying, of course, there's a huge gulf. There are people who are doing extremely well and have created brands for these items by the use of social media. On the other hand, there are people who don't even know about it. So we really need to get them that connect, getting them on board digitally, and so that they can also cater to this borderless market that actually exists once you're on the e-commerce platform.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. With this, we are coming to the end of this session. Thank you, ma'am, for sparing your time, your precious time with us today and joining us today. It was truly a privilege and honor to have you today on this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. It is always a pleasure to be associated with, and to be a part of such platforms, because, I don't care how many people are there, 2, 10, 20, if it's reaching to 50 people, maybe 10 will be motivated, 5 will want to do something, 3 will do, 1 will emerge a winner out of it, and will actually be, giving that much to the society. So, we always feel that reach out to as many people as you can. Awareness is the key. Awareness is the word that we need to do here. So
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you for
Thank you so
inviting me.
much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah. So with this, we have finished with our first session of MSME Expo for Odisha state. So today we saw that Odisha has a huge potential and has emerged as a gateway to India and to Southeast Asia. We need a robust linkage of MSMEs with schemes such as cluster development programs and scheme for fund for regeneration of traditional industries in Odisha, which will address issues of capital investment, technology, quality, and market access. So during this 5 days expo, we have selected a few stalls across various categories as winners, and the below are the three categories and the winners. So the first category we have, that is the best product with national potential. That is best product that can be supported nationally, and the winners are: third place goes to All That's Pretty Healthy Cookies. Congratulations. Second place goes to Gopinath Kaur Toys. Congratulations. And the first place goes to Abhi Vyakti Collections, that is hand block and handloom saris. Congratulations. Coming to the second category, we have best product with international potential, that is the best product that can be supported internationally. And the winners are: second place goes to third place goes to Araya Kutu, that is Pashmina shawls. Second place goes to Utkriti Artisans Private Limited for her silver filigree and brass dokra work. Congratulations. And the first place goes to bambulogy.com for Femi Fashions for his bamboo apparels. Coming to the third category of the best stall in the Odisha State MSME Expo 2022. And the winners of the best stall are: third place goes to Itkriti Artisans Private Limited. Congratulations. Second place goes to Nisarga Industries. Congratulations. And the first place goes to Amani Crochet. Congratulations. Congratulations to all winners once again. I request each and every attendee to visit this expo on www.indiasmeforum.org/Odisha and encourage these MSMEs from Odisha. This expo is live until tonight 12 p.m. Now coming to the last part of this entire session, that is the closing ceremony. That can I please request Ms. Sushma Morthania? She is the Director General of India SME Forum to come and give her closing remarks for this entire MSME Odisha State Expo 2022. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Pranav. Just allow me a second, please. Okay, I'm audible now. Thank you very much. सबसे पहले तो मैं आप सबका धन्यवाद करना चाहती हूँ और आपको बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देना चाहती हूँ. आपने 5 दिन का एक्सपो लगाया, इसमें पार्टिसिपेट किया, आपने इसमें भाग लिया. हमारे इस एक्सपो में करीब 106 स्टॉल्स थे, जिसमें कि करीब 70 स्टॉल ओडिशा की महिलाओं ने लगाए हैं और बाकी के जो स्टॉल्स थे, जो 36 स्टॉल्स हैं, ये रेस्ट ऑफ इंडिया से, मतलब अलग अलग स्टेट से बाकी एमएसएमईज ने यहाँ पे स्टॉल लगाया. इसका हेतु ये था कि बाहर से तो बायर्स आए, इंडिया भर से लोग आकर विजिट करें, जो ओडिशा स्टेट के एमएसएमईज के साथ और यहाँ की एंटरप्राइजेस के साथ, यहाँ के आर्ट, क्राफ्ट, हैंडीक्राफ्ट, फूड्स, टेक्सटाइल, लाइफस्टाइल, ये सेक्टर्स के साथ जो जुड़ना चाहते हैं, उनके साथ जो बिजनेस करना चाहते हैं, वो आए, उनसे मिले. यही हेतु था इस एक्सपो का. और दूसरा हेतु ये भी था कि ओडिशा के एमएसएमईज के साथ साथ जब रेस्ट ऑफ इंडिया के भी पार्टिसिपेंट्स होंगे तो ये आपस में भी बिजनेस कर पाएंगे, आपस में भी नेटवर्क कर पाएंगे। यही हमारा हेतु था इस एक्सपो के पीछे। शुरुआत में ये एक्सपो जब शुरू हुआ 17 तारीख को हमने इसका लॉन्च किया। डॉक्टर अमर पटनायक जी ने इसको इनॉग्रेट किया along with our president Mr. Vinod Kumar and the director of MSME DI Katak श्री गुप्ता जी। सो इन्होंने अपने शुभ हस्तों से इस एक्सपो का इनॉग्रेशन किया। 5 दिन ये एक्सपो चला। इन 5 दिनों में 1845 दैट इज 1845 1845 विजिटर्स आए। अभी इसका बिजनेस में कितना ट्रांसलेट हुआ ये अब हम पता करेंगे हमारे एग्जिबिटर्स से बात करके, और वो भी डिटेल्स हम जल्द ही जारी करेंगे। सो इट हैज बीन अ गुड एक्सपीरियंस। आप भी हमें लिखकर भेजें कि आपका एक्सपीरियंस कैसा रहा, और आप ऐसे एक्सपोज में पार्टिसिपेट करना चाहेंगे तो इसमें और आपको क्या फैसिलिटीज या क्या सपोर्ट हमारी तरफ से चाहिए तो हम उसको आगे आपको देने की कोशिश करेंगे। इस एक्सपो में ज्यादातर जो सेक्टर थे ये थे क्वायर, हैंडीक्राफ्ट, हैंडलूम, ज्यादातर क्रिएटिव मैन्युफैक्चरिंग साइड जो कि ओडिशा की स्ट्रेंथ है। सो क्रिएटिव मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर्स जो हैं इन सेक्टर्स से ज्यादातर एग्जिबिटर्स पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे थे। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट फ्रेग्रेंसेस, एग्रो बेस्ड फूड प्रोसेसिंग, ये कंपनियां भी भाग ले रही थी। मैंने कुछ वेबिनार्स अटेंड किए और ज्यादातर जो सवाल हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स ने पूछा कि हमें वो एक्सपोजर या हमें वो एज या हमें हमारा नाम या हमें उस प्रकार की ब्रांडिंग क्यों नहीं मिल रही है। तो सबसे पहले मैं आप लोगों को बताना चाहूंगी कि ओडिशा के करीब 18 जीआईज हैं। ओडिशा के पास करीब 18 जीआईज हैं। जीआई का मतलब है ज्योग्राफिकल इंडिकेशन। जैसे अभी रीसेंट जीआई जो है रसगुल्ला, जो कि अभी उड़ीसा को हाल ही में मिला हुआ है। इसके अलावा मैं कुछ पढ़ूंगी यहाँ से। तो ओडिशा के पास जो जीआई है वो है कोटपैड हैंडलूम फैब्रिक, ओडिशा इकत, कोणार्क स्टोन कार्विंग, ओडिशा पटचित्रा, पीपली एप्लिक वर्क, खंडवा साड़ी एंड फैब्रिक्स, गोपालपुर टसर फैब्रिक्स, गंजम केवड़ा रूह, गंजम केवड़ा फ्लावर, धालापत्थर पर्दा एंड फैब्रिक्स, संबलपुरी बांधा साड़ी एंड फैब्रिक, बोमकाई साड़ी एंड फैब्रिक, हबासपुरी साड़ी एंड फैब्रिक्स, बेरहमपुर पत्ता फोड़ा कुंभा साड़ी एंड जोड़ा हैंडीक्राफ्ट है, ओडिशा पत्तचित्रा हैंडीक्राफ्ट, अराकू वैली अराबिका कॉफी, कंधामाल हल्दी एंड ओडिशा रसगुल्ला। तो ये जो है 18 ज्योग्राफिकल इंडिकेशंस हैं। इसका मतलब है कि ये इन सब चीजों को एक बहुत ही पावरफुल ब्रांड बनने की पोटेंशियल है। ज्योग्राफिकल इंडिकेशन का अगर मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल दूं तो जैसे हम आसाम टी या दार्जिलिंग टी ये जो पीते हैं तो ये भी एक प्रकार का जीआई है। और वो क्यों हर जगह पे आज माना गया है, क्योंकि उसको उस प्रकार से मार्केट किया गया। दार्जिलिंग से जो भी चाय बनी उन्होंने अपनी क्वालिटी में अपने फ्लेवर में उसको एक यूनिफॉर्मिटी रखी, स्टैंडर्ड रखा, तो यही सारी चीजें जब ये जो जीआईज जो ऑलरेडी आपके पास है उनमें सेम क्वालिटी, सेम स्टैंडर्ड और डिजाइन इंटरवेंशन थोड़ा सा होकर अगर आप इसको अलग अलग ई कॉमर्स प्लेटफॉर्म पे, नॉट जस्ट फॉर इंडिया बट एक्सपोर्ट्स भी करने के लिए अगर आप इनको ई कॉमर्स प्लेटफॉर्म पे डालेंगे तो आई एम श्योर इसमें एक बहुत अच्छा ब्रांड बनने की बहुत क्षमता है और ये बहुत बड़ा ब्रांड बन सकता है, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग दुनिया भर में उड़ीसा का स्टोन कार्विंग, उड़ीसा की जो इकत है, फैब्रिक है, ये सब खरीदने में इंटरेस्टेड हैं। उसके अलावा क्या चलता है, क्या प्राइसिंग होनी चाहिए, किस प्रकार की डिजाइन्स लोगों को अच्छी लगती है, तो जब तक आप खुद ऑनलाइन नहीं जाएंगे, जब तक आप खुद, आज की तारीख में कोई भी ई कॉमर्स प्लेटफॉर्म ही सबसे बड़ा क्लासरूम है। अगर आप ये देखेंगे, सीखेंगे, समझेंगे क्या प्रोडक्ट्स बिक रहे हैं और उस प्रकार से अगर अपने डिजाइन्स में, अपने प्रोडक्ट्स में थोड़े से चेंजेस लाएंगे तो अब उसका मार्केट अपने आप बढ़ जाएगा और ब्रांड भी अपने आप बनता जाएगा। सो ये बहुत जरूरी है। और दूसरा, जस्ट मेरे पहले मैं सुन रही थी कि नितिशा जी ने आपको मंत्रालय जो ट्रेड फेयर्स और एग्जीबिशंस के लिए जो एमएसएमईज को सपोर्ट करता है, तो उसमें आप लोग कंटिन्यूअसली पार्टिसिपेट करते रहिए, क्योंकि एमएसएमई मिनिस्ट्री और भी बहुत सारे मंत्रालय हैं जिसमें मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ टेक्सटाइल्स है, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फूड प्रोसेसिंग है, डेवलपमेंट कमिश्नर ऑफिस ऑफ हैंडीक्राफ्ट्स है, डीसी हैंडलूम है। सो ये सारी जो ऑफिसेस हैं इनकी बहुत सारी स्कीमें चल रही हैं जिसके तहत आप सिर्फ इंडिया में ही नहीं, बाहर भी, इंडिया के बाहर भी आप ट्रेड फेयर्स में पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं, जिसके लिए आपको रीइंबर्समेंट भी मिलता है, एयर फेयर का रीइंबर्समेंट मिलता है, जो स्पेस आप लेते हैं उसका रीइंबर्समेंट मिलता है, और आपको सामान ले जाने के लिए भी उसके लिए रीइंबर्समेंट मिलता है। और जैसे आपने उड़ीसा स्टेट फेयर में पार्टिसिपेट किया जिसके लिए आपको कोई पार्टिसिपेशन फी एप्लीकेबल नहीं रही, वैसे ही इंडिया भर में बहुत सारे ऐसे फेयर्स हैं जिसमें मंत्रालय काफी सारी पार्टिसिपेशन फी सब्सिडाइज करती है और महिलाओं के लिए खास तौर पे 100% फ्री है। मार्जिनलाइज सोसाइटी से जो एमएसएमईज आते हैं उनके लिए भी 100% फ्री पार्टिसिपेशन है, पूरी तरह से सब्सिडाइज किया जाता है। सो मेरी आप सबसे यही रिक्वेस्ट है कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा आप इन सब फेयर्स में पार्टिसिपेट करें, अपने आप को एक्सपोजर दें, खुद समझें कि किस प्रकार के प्रोडक्ट्स काम कर रहे हैं, और सिर्फ स्टॉल लगाने से काम आपका नहीं हो जाता, काफी नहीं होता। आपको ज्यादा से ज्यादा नेटवर्क करना है लोगों से। पर्सनली तो खैर आज की तारीख में मिलना है नहीं, लेकिन कोविड ने हमें सिखाया है कि ऑनलाइन कितना सारा बिजनेस पॉसिबल है और कैसे किया जा सकता है। ये आप अपने एडवांटेज के लिए इसका उपयोग करें। सो विद दैट आई थैंक ईच वन ऑफ द पार्टिसिपेंट ऑफ ओडिशा स्टेट एमएसएमई वर्चुअल एक्सपो 2022। इसके साथ मैं तहे दिल से शुक्रिया मानूंगी हमारे पार्टनर MSME DI कटक एंड ओडिशा, उनका, with the support of Ministry of MSME and Office of Development Commissioner of MSME and the entire team of their office and India SME Forum to have made this show possible. Once again, I thank all our viewers, visitors who have been participating, visiting our participants, meeting them, taking interest in their products, and trying to figure out or explore business opportunities with the MSMEs of Odisha. So with that, थैंक यू वेरी मच। एंड ये एक्सपो जो है आज का आखिरी दिन है। आज रात 12 बजे तक एक्सपो चालू रहेगा, तो कुछ घंटे और बचे हैं। सो मेरी रिक्वेस्ट होगी हमारे श्रोताओं से कि प्लीज आप हमारे एग्जिबिटर्स से मिलें, उनसे कांटेक्ट करें और उनके जो बेहद खूबसूरत प्रोडक्ट्स हैं उसको आप देखें। एंड बिजनेस के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटीज और नेटवर्किंग आप करते रहें, एक दूसरे से जुड़ते रहिए। और इंडिया एसएमई फोरम हमेशा तत्पर है आप लोगों की सेवा में, आपके बिजनेस को फैसिलिटेट करने में, और जिस भी प्रकार से हम सपोर्ट कर पाएंगे वो सपोर्ट हम आपको मुहैया कराते रहेंगे, करते रहेंगे। विद दैट, thank you very much. Have a great evening and God bless. Thank you.